So, Mr. Parcells, how did you end up getting into coaching?
Well, I was always interested in sports. Played a lot of different sports when I was young. I was in New York area, metro area. Sports were very popular, particularly baseball. And football was in its advent then, professional football. And the NBA was just getting started pretty well at that time. And, I thought, first about playing, and then I just was interested in coaching. I wasn't sure that that's what I was wanting to do. You can't project what turns your life is going to take. But when I got out of college, I did have an opportunity to do that, and I thought I would try it and see how it went.
Because you attended Colgate University. Colgate's not known as an athletic school. It's more intellectual. So where people saying, what are you doing here? You went to Colgate. You should become a professional at something else.
Well, I didn't look at it like that. I looked at trying to go to school to get a good education. That was my primary concern. I was having a little problem with my dad because I was wanting to sign a baseball contract, and he wouldn't let me do it. And I had that opportunity to do that coming out of high school, and then after my first year in college. So that's what made me leave Colgate. I was just mad and kind of rebellious, and that I wasn't going to be allowed to play baseball. Well, when I went home to New Jersey, he asked me what I was doing there. And I told him, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, well, you got 3 days to get out of here. And that's when I had to go find another school to go to. And my high school coach helped me go out west to Wichita, and that's where the football really started.
So after college, you start coaching. In college, you were at Wichita, Army, Florida State, Vanderbilt, Texas Tech. Was it tough on you going from school to school?
Well, actually, my first job was Hastings College in Nebraska as an assistant coach just for the season. One of my college coaches had gotten that head job, and that was really the best thing that could have ever happened to me because it was a Division III school, and all of us had to coach. There weren't that many coaches, and we all had to do our job and coach, and it gave me really a hands-on chance to experience coaching and really have responsibility. And that's what led me further. After that, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
I see that you coached under Bobby Knight for a season at Army, coaching basketball. How did that come about?
I didn't coach basketball with Bobby Knight. He was a very close friend of mine. We were both young coaches. I was a football coach. He was a basketball. We just kind of gravitated to one another. He liked football, and I liked basketball a lot. And I wound up, I'd watch his practices, and once in a while I'd go scout a game for him and do things like that. But we've been lifelong friends.
So when you were coaching in college, was there one coach that was the biggest influence on you?
That's an interesting question. When you go to different places, and particularly different parts of the country, you're exposed to, I guess the right word would be different cultures. And that was a very good experience for me and my children. Even though it was difficult for them at the time, it wound up serving them well because they had to learn to adapt at a young age in a couple of different places. And as they've matured into adults, they don't have any fear of change, and it's because they were used to it, and it's just another place. And I think it was a good education for me and them, and I learned about different parts of the country, some of which I never would have probably had the opportunity. I mean, I never ever thought I'd be in Texas, and I was coaching at Texas Tech, and that's as Texas as you can get, and it was interesting, but I liked it. It was just different for me. It was a different way of life.
Then you became the head coach after Texas Tech and Air Force. That'd be a big change from Texas to a military school.
Well, I had experience because I coached at Army, so I knew what I was getting into. And I just went there and then was only there a year and I had the opportunity to go to pro football a year later. I had a couple of family issues that kind of needed my attention, and I was out of coaching for a year in order to take care of those things. And then I went back to the pros.
How did the Giants end up hiring you? Was it Ray Perkins' decision, or was it the GM, or who made the choice?
Well, I'm sure Ray Perkins was influential because I had known Ray, and we had a kind of a short friendship, but we had some mutual friends in coaching, and I think they had spoken to Ray about me years before, a couple of years before, 2 or 3 years before the opportunity ever came up. And so I think I was on his mind, and then actually he helped me get the job at New England my first year in the pros, and then he hired me as the coordinator after that.
So you became the defensive coordinator of the Giants. Harry Carson was there, but you didn't have all the great players. How did you know that you were building something special with the Giants?
Well, I was an assistant for a couple of years there. We had some good draft choices. My first year there, Lawrence Taylor being the most notable one. And we had a couple of real good drafts after that. And as a result, we wound up being able to build a very powerful defense. And that kind of was a staple until I could get established as a head coach and learn a little bit more about what that was about, and then try to get some input into the offense after that.
You changed the defense from a 4-3 to a 3-4. What was the reason for that?
Well, that's what we had played at New England, and that's what I knew the best in my exposure in pro football. And I was fortunate when I went to New England, to be under a guy named Fritz Shermer, our defensive coordinator, who coached for many years in the NFL as coordinator. And it was a very good experience because he taught me a lot about the 3-4. Now, I had also had some background in it from my college experience. So, adding what he taught me to what I already knew helped.
Was it hard convincing the linebackers to play in that 3-4 rather than the 4-3 like Kerry Carson and Carl Banks and Lawrence Taylor?
No. Carson was the only one that had 4-3 experience. when Taylor came in the league, we were playing 3-4, so that's what he knew. That's what he liked. When Banks came in, we were playing 3-4. That's what he knew, and that's what he grew to like.
So you're coaching the defense, and then Perkins decides to take the Alabama job, and you get named the head coach. Were you ready for it then? Or did you say, you know what, I might need more time?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I couldn't pass the opportunity. That's my hometown area. I was a Giants fan when I was young. That was kind of a dream place for me. Retrospectively, I probably wasn't quite ready, and it took me a little while to get ready. And but after that, I was very happy to be with the Giants.
Because the Giants really hadn't had any success since the late 50s. I mean, they had great coaches, assistant coaches, and Vince Lombardi and also Tom Landry. But, again, they never made them the head coach. They made Allie Sherman, and if they would have picked one of those other guys, it might have been a different history for the Giants.
Well, it might have been, but that didn't have anything to do with me. So I was after that. I was lucky to get the opportunity.
So you're coaching the Giants, and you were the former defensive coordinator. Now you're the head coach. You had Phil Simms as your quarterback. Did you feel that Phil could take you all the way, or were you always looking to see if you could always upgrade that position?
No, I like Phil. I actually made a mistake my first year. I played another guy. But once I got Phil in there in '84, then we started to go. And I was very happy to have him. And we had quite a number of years together before he got hurt there, 90, and then Jeff Hostetler had to fill in. But Phil did a great job for us.
What made Phil such a good quarterback?
Pardon me?
What made Phil such a good quarterback?
He was tough. He was a good passer. He was accurate. He was a good decision maker. He wanted to win. I couldn't have had a better guy. His personality, he understood me. He was fiery himself, and he was good.
With Lawrence Taylor, he comes in there and just takes the league by storm. What made him so tough?
Oh, he just had very good innate ability. He was a good practice player. He wanted to win. The game was important to him. He didn't want to. He was a great teammate, and winning was important to him. And that's what made him what he was. He had a lot of ability as well.
That '86 season had to be magical for you when you won the Super Bowl. What was the key to that season?
Well, we had very good balance on our team. We had good experience in the playoffs. We'd been in the playoffs for a couple of years before that. And our team was very determined. And we had enough weapons offensively, and we were very good on defense too. And I had a good coaching staff.
Who was the toughest team you faced that year?
I would say our biggest rival was the Redskins, always. Joe Gibbs was there. They had won some Super Bowls already. They were the team I felt like we had to get by if we were going to go anywhere.
During that time, it seemed like it was a heyday of defense in the NFL. You had the Giants, you had the Bears there. I mean, you guys had dominant defensive, won Super Bowls. And, I mean, you had great offensive teams like Dan Marino, but it seems like defense would carry you to championships. Do you think that was the case?
Well, I think it was helpful. I think you know, the more balance you can have, usually the better team you have. But having a good defense is always, no matter what year or what era, it's always very helpful because it allows you to stay in games and it allows you to compete in games, and you know, it doesn't put you in a position where you're having to try to catch up all the time if your defense is strong. So that's what helped.
Who was the leader of those defenses?
Well, we had 4 or 5 of them. I mean, I would say Jim, Burt, Taylor. They came in the league together. They were close. You know, Carson was one of our captains. You know, we had a good young core, Gary Reasons and Pepper Johnson and Banks. Those guys came a couple of years later, and they were all really good players. And they fit in well with Carson and Taylor and Burt. And Leonard Marshall was a good defensive lineman. Our safety named Terry Kennard, that was a good player. So we were pretty well set.
So you win the Super Bowl against the Broncos, Super Bowl 21, and you get doused with that Gatorade. Did you know that was coming?
Well, they had been doing it that year, so yeah, I kind of felt like it would be, yeah.
Did you ever try to stop and tell these guys, you know what, knock it off, or was it just kind of like
No.
ritual?
No, that was their time to have a little fun.
So you go to the Super Bowl again in 1990. Like you mentioned before, you had Jeff Hostetler as your quarterback. Was it a trying year for you that year, knowing that you didn't have your established quarterback to take you to a championship?
No, Jeff had been with us a long time. He didn't have a lot of playing experience, but he'd been with us, so I know I was pretty confident in him, and I think the media was skeptical, but I think the players on the team knew that he could do something, and I remember telling the team that, you know, after we got in the playoffs, that Jeff Hostetler wasn't going to be the reason why we didn't win. You know, it was going to be somebody else because I was confident he would do a good job.
In the playoffs that year, you beat some Hall of Fame coaches, Mike Ditka, Marv Levy, and then you faced San Francisco, which I think Seifer was your coach then. So you played some pretty dominant teams. Was that a tougher run to the Super Bowl that year than in '86?
Yeah, because we had to play on the road at San Francisco, and that was, you know, they were going for a three-peat there, and so it was tough, but we were able to win it. That was a very good game, and a lot of good players playing in that game.
Was Jerry Rice the toughest guy you had to play against on defense?
He was a good player. I mean, you know, there's some other good receivers around. I mean, he was, you know, he went on to have a tremendous career. At that time, he was still a young guy in the mid-'80s. But he was good. We had to pay attention to him, yes.
So you retired after Super Bowl 25 because of health issues. Did you think, you know what, I'm done coaching now, I just want to go into something else? Or did you always think back in your mind, you know what, I might want to get back into coaching eventually?
Well, I knew there was something wrong with me. I just wasn't sure what it was. It took us a little while to figure it out. Once we figured it out and I had a heart operation, then I knew I wanted to try to get back to coaching.
What made you end up taking the Patriots job?
Well, first of all, they offered it to me. You know, they don't just pick and choose. So I had been to New England. I liked the place. In terms of location, I'm a Northeast guy, and you know, it wasn't a different lifestyle than what I was used to. So I like New England, and I still like it.
Who was the toughest quarterback you faced when you were coaching? I mean, you faced some great ones in Montana and Brett Favre in the Super Bowl and Steve Young. Is there someone who gave you the most trouble?
I would say Montana at the time. Now, I didn't play against Favre too many times, maybe 2 or 3. You know, there were a lot of good quarterbacks at the time. But Montana was somebody that we played against quite a bit, so he kind of sticks out to me a little bit more.
What made him so tough?
Smart, good decision maker, had a good system. He was mobile. He was a good player.
So when you went to the Jets, again, another East Coast team, again, the Jets hadn't won since they had Willie Joe Namath. Did you think, you know what, if I could take the Jets to the Super Bowl, that would mean really something being a New York or New Jersey guy?
I didn't think of it that way. I was just trying to, you know, when you go to coach a team, you're just trying to win games. I didn't think that way. I was just trying to win as best as I could.
Was it tough being a head coach and GM at the same time?
Not really. I had a lot of good help.
Because a lot of times people say as a GM, you draft the players and you want the coach to play them. And as a coach, you want to play the best players you have. But if you draft a guy, do you think, you know what, I should really be playing this guy because I drafted him?
Well, I don't think like that. I think I'm going to play the best players. I don't care who drafted them.
You had an assistant coach in Bill Belichick. Did you ever think to yourself that this guy could really become a successful head coach to the degree he has become?
Yes, I did. I thought about it pretty early on. You know, I was the one that helped him get to be a defensive coordinator. He was a special teams coach. And I started asking Ray Perkins if he could help me on defense because I thought I saw something there that I really liked. And then he learned the defense, and he was a defensive coach. And then when he got the head job, he had to expand, and just like we all do.
It seems like some of the greatest coaches started as special teams coaches. You get a Ditka, you have Belichick, also John Harbaugh now with the Ravens. It seems like.
Yep, that's right. And because they coach all the players on the team, and they have to be involved with every play. So.
With Belichick, he went to Cleveland, wasn't that successful, and then gets the Patriots job and basically is one of the greatest coaches in history. Do you think that him failing with the Browns kind of helped him become a better coach?
Oh, sure. Any kind of experience helps you.
So when you took that Cowboys job, again, you're coaching America's team there. What was different coaching in Dallas than the previous staffs with the Jets, with the Giants, the Patriots?
I don't know. The organization was a little bit differently structured, and there were some people that had been there a long time. They were there, you know, It was. I liked it there, though. I liked working for the Joneses. They were good people, and I enjoyed my time there. It was just a little different than what I was used to. That's all.
Did you have a favorite team you coached?
Yeah. I grew up a Giant fan. When I was a little boy, I was rooting for them. So that's how I still root for them.
Who was your favorite player growing up?
I'd say Charlie Connolly.
And why was that?
Well, he was the quarterback of the Giants. Right.
So everybody wanted to be the quarterback of the Giants in your neighborhood.
Yeah, that's right.
How did you feel when you found out you were going in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
I was very honored. Very humbling experience.
Hall of Famers say that it means more for their family and friends when they go in the Hall of Fame because they've had their support all those years, and it basically is not only for you, it's for the family, friends. Do you agree with that?
I never really thought of it like that, but I can see that point. I think my children were happy that happened, and they were there, and I was very grateful that they were, and happy that they could be there and see it.
Who was your favorite player you ever coached?
I had a lot of them.
Like if you were going to build a team, was there one player you'd want on your team?
Yeah, Taylor.
Just because he was so unstoppable?
Pretty good, yeah. I had a couple of those kind of guys that I really liked as players. So
was there a coach that gave you the most? Was there a coach that gave you the most fits?
Was it a coach that gave me the most fits?
Or you had the toughest time coaching against?
Well, I never looked at it like that. It's competition, and we're all in different circumstances from year to year. So, one year it's one guy, another year it's another two guys. That's the way it is. It's just competition.